This message is for the major television networks out there. This is for Netflix. This is for Hulu, Oxygen, OWN, ABC, NBC, CBS, Lifetime Movie Network. Any television program that showcases African American or Black people that have mental health issues or substance abuse issues, or, you know, need some sort of treatment. What I would really like to see more of in terms of expert authorities are African American people. What my major complaint and my major gripe is, and what I've seen across the board, and BET as well, what I've seen across the board is networks who will use coaches for treatment as opposed to actual African American psychologists or mental health therapists for treatment. And this was inspired by me watching Blue Therapy. I just watched Blue Therapy on Netflix, and no shade to that therapist, but full of African American couples. And it was a white therapist working with all of those Black couples. You mean to tell me out of the whole United States and Europe, you could not find an African American therapist to work with all of these Black or interracial couples? This is something that I have noticed throughout television history. When it comes to doing therapy or treatment, a lot of times when it comes to Black people, what they will do is they will use an African American coach. But when it comes to having an authority or being an authority figure, they will typically defer to someone white. And this has been happening, VH1, many shows that I can name that always defer to a white psychologist or a white person to be the expert authority on treatment and things like that. And when it comes to people of color or African American, forget it, I'm not even going to use people of color, Black people, there are so many excellent Black therapists and psychologists that I know of that can be used to really talk about these things that are African American centered. And African American people are very much an expert authority on African American mental health. But typically when African American therapists or psychologists may be showcased, what I have noticed is that it is adjacent to a white expert authority. And that is something that really needs to change. There certainly needs to be more people who look like the population you guys are portraying or putting on television. There needs to be more experts that look like that in sex therapy, addiction treatment, and things like that. Stop using coaches for severe mental health and pathological disorders and treatment. And in terms of treating us, there's many of people more than qualified that look like the population that they are serving that should be featured on television to speak to those issues and to speak and work with that particular population. I think this also needs to be the case for those dating shows or those random Love is Blind and all this other kind of stuff. When you guys are hooking, people up together in those pathological relationships, they need to be working with an expert, a licensed expert that looks like them. People who have ethics, people who have integrity, and people who can call out pathology within their own group, and people who can treat these people psychologically, safely, and soundly. Please stop with only making certain people that look a certain way experts. There are so many diverse experts out there. I think you are doing your television audience a huge disservice by not featuring that. People need to understand what it looks like to see a Black therapist or a Black psychologist diagnosing, treating, calling out pathological behaviors, and not only see a white person in expert authority. There's also a time and place for coaches, but when you're dealing with severe pathology, that is not a place where a coach belongs. I don't care if it's, oh, African Americans are more likely to go see a coach. It doesn't matter if this person has severe and significant pathology. They need to see someone licensed and who can make treatment recommendations and get them the services that they deserve. You're doing yourself a huge service in your population that's consuming this stuff. You're doing them a huge disservice by not having an expert that looks like them, that's leading that conversation and is guiding that conversation. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.